It's a gut punch for sure. That's not a fan on social media. That's not a beat writer's headline. That's Dave Roberts, the manager who has to look Kim Hye-sung in the eye and tell him he's going back down. And when a manager who's won a World Series, who's handled superstar egos and playoff pressure for a decade, calls a roster decision a gut punch, you have to ask, what does that actually tell us? Not about Kim's talent. About what the Dodgers see in him that the stat sheet doesn't show. Let's break it down. So Kim Hye-sung is optioned to AAA. What did you think when you first heard this? Honestly, my first reaction wasn't about the numbers. It was about the timing and the language Roberts used. Teams option players all the time, that's baseball. But managers don't usually reach for a word like gut punch. That's not front office language. That's not a corporate transaction line. That's a manager admitting on the record that this decision cost him something personally. And I think that tells you everything about how the Dodgers actually view Kim. Walk me through why. Because on paper, optioning a struggling player is just business. Right, and if you only look at the surface, that's exactly what it looks like. A guy scuffles, a roster spot opens up, you make a swap. But here's the part casual fans miss. Kim didn't get sent down because the Dodgers gave up on him. He got sent down because they need him to be great, not just serviceable. Think about it, this is a team built to win a championship right now. Every bench spot is contested. Every at-bat matters. If Kim was just an average utility piece, nobody's writing headlines about a gut punch. You don't get emotional about cutting a replacement-level player. You get emotional about a guy you believe has real upside, who just hasn't put it together yet at the highest level. So you're saying the emotional language is actually a compliment in disguise. Exactly. Roberts followed it up by saying no one works harder than Kim does. Think about what that phrase is doing. It's separating effort from outcome. He's telling you, explicitly, this isn't a talent problem or an attitude problem. This is a timing problem. And that's a very different message than what you'd hear if a team was quietly moving on from someone. Let's talk about what actually led to this. What was happening with Kim's game before the option? This is the part that's genuinely interesting if you look closely. Kim wasn't getting buried because he couldn't hit MLB pitching at all. Remember, he tore up spring pitching and forced his way into the roster conversation in the first place. The issue was consistency over a stretch of games. His strikeout rate climbed, his contact quality dipped, and mechanically, you could see his lower half wasn't syncing with his upper half the way it needs to. That's not a "this guy can't play" problem. That's a "his timing has drifted and he needs reps to fix it" problem. And crucially, you can't fix a timing issue by sitting on a bench in the majors watching left-handers get matchup at-bats. You fix it by playing every single day. That's an interesting point, that AAA isn't a punishment, it's almost a tool. That's exactly the right way to frame it. In the majors right now, Kim might get 3-4 at-bats a week if he's buried on the bench behind a crowded infield mix. In AAA, he plays every day, sees live pitching daily, and can actually rebuild his swing under real game pressure instead of rusting on a bench. From a pure development standpoint, it's the more aggressive path back to being good, not a step away from it. So why does it still sting the way Roberts described it? Because of what Kim represents for this organization. He didn't come over as a project or a lottery ticket. He came over as a proven, disciplined hitter from a completely different league, adjusting to a new country, a new style of pitching, a new everything, and by most accounts, he did it with humility and relentless preparation. Roberts has talked about how hard this guy works. When you see a player putting in that kind of effort, and still not seeing it translate consistently at the highest level yet, that's genuinely hard to watch as a manager, even when you know it's the right baseball decision. Let's zoom out. What does this say about the bigger picture for the Dodgers this season? It says the bar in this organization is brutally high, and that's actually good news if you're a Dodgers fan. This isn't a rebuilding team carrying a struggling player because there's nothing better to do. This is a championship-caliber roster where every single spot has to be earned and re-earned constantly. Kim getting optioned isn't a referendum on his ceiling, it's a reflection of how competitive this roster is from top to bottom. When your utility infielder's slump is significant enough to trigger a roster move, that tells you how little margin for error exists on a team built to win it all. Is there a risk here, though? Sending a player down can mess with confidence. Sure, that risk always exists with any player, at any level. But here's where the hardest worker comment matters again. Roberts isn't just describing effort, he's implicitly vouching for makeup, mentality, resilience. Players who approach the game the way Kim reportedly does tend to respond to adversity by getting better, not by spiraling. The Dodgers clearly believe this is a speed bump, not a dead end. If they thought otherwise, that quote doesn't happen. You don't publicly praise a player's work ethic on his way out the door if you don't expect him back. So what should fans actually be watching for from here? 2 things. First, watch Kim's underlying numbers in AAA, not just batting average, but strikeout rate, exit velocity, how often he's squaring up the ball. Those are the real signals of whether the swing adjustments are sticking. Second, watch the timeline. If this turns into an extended stay, that tells you the issue runs deeper than timing. But if he's back up within a matter of weeks hitting the way he did in spring, that confirms exactly what Roberts was saying. This was never about doubting Kim's ability. It was about buying him the reps he needed to get back to it. At the end of the day, gut punch isn't the language of a team giving up on a player. It's the language of a team that knows exactly what it's giving up in the short term to get the best version of him back. Kim Hye-sung's story isn't over, this is just the chapter where the Dodgers bet on the process. Let me know in the comments, do you think Kim comes back a better hitter, or is this the beginning of a longer struggle? Hit subscribe for the next update the moment he's back in the lineup.